Hi everyone, my name is Leah from Carve Club and I'm going to be demonstrating today how I do a hybrid brow. So I always go in first using the Browz PURIFY shampoo. I really like to make sure that the skin is completely detoxed of any oils, makeup that lingers around the skin. It's super important that you work with a clean base. Our skin naturally produces something called sebum, which is the oils in our skin, so you want to make sure that that's completely removed, as this can act as a barrier when it comes to hybrid tint. I like to slowly massage this into the brow area and into the skin. Make sure that you clean the surrounding skin as well, as makeup does tend to linger around that whole area. This part is really nice for your client. The brush is super soft, so it's like a nice gentle massage. In the PURIFY shampoo, there's saline, niacinamide and citric acid, and all of these ingredients work together for the hairs and the skin, which makes sure the skin is completely clean without any sensitivity. This is super important when cleaning the brow area. You don't want to irritate the skin, you want to simply cleanse the area. I'm now going in with the brow polish from the Browz brow care range. This is really good for removing any impurities that are left on the skin. It's a gentle scrub, but it is thorough enough to remove any dead skin cells that might be lingering around or any makeup that the brow shampoo didn't quite grab. Using a soft brush with this product is ideal. Although the scrub is nice and soft on the skin, you don't want to go in with anything too harsh, so I always avoid using things like a spoolie with the scrub, as I find it can be a tiny bit harsh on the skin. I'm just removing this with a cotton pad and then going in with a saline solution to make sure the whole area is completely detoxed. So I am now going in with a mapping pen. When it comes to mapping, you can use whatever technique you like. There is no right or wrong way. You just have to do what works for you. Lots of people like to use the mapping string method. Some people like a mapping paste. My preferred way of mapping is a mapping pen. As you can see here, I am just going in and mapping out Ellie's brows. They do already have quite a good shape, so it's quite easy for me to outline the shape that I want to create. Don't worry about the mapping line being completely perfect. You can go in afterwards and clean this up. So as you can see here, Ellie's shape is already there. If her shape was, say, a little bit off, the brows weren't matched up, she didn't quite have an arch in there, I would potentially go in then with the mapping string, but like I say, my preferred method is a mapping pen. I find it much more easier to use and to go in and tweak little bits that I need to. So now I'm going to go in with the hybrid dye. This is a shade Oak and Taupe from the Browz hybrid range. So the difference with a hybrid brow, it's not like traditional brow tint, which only colours the hair. With a hybrid dye, it will penetrate deeper into the hair follicles so that it will stain the skin as well. So it's going to give you that bolder and thicker look, which is perfect for Ellie's brows. Hybrid dye can last a lot longer on the skin, anywhere between 5 to 12 days. This is dependent on the client and their skin type as well, so it's important that you let your client know that you might not get the longest lasting results out of a hybrid dye if your skin is perhaps oilier or even drier. It's ideal for a natural and neutral skin type. It's not to say you can't have hybrid dye if you have oilier skin, you just might not get the longest lasting results. So my technique with a hybrid dye, I like to stamp along the bottom line of the brow first. I always start towards the tail of the brow because that's where I want the deepest colour. I'm going to leave that part on the longest. That way you can get that ombre effect from front to bottom of the brow. So as you can see, I stamp along the mapping line that I've made. That is the reason for the mapping line, so that you've got a nice baseline to work with. Stamping is a really good method with hybrid dye as it stamps it straight into the skin. You'll see that I am using a bit of a swiping method too. That's just so that I can create my shape and then I'll go and stamp the dye into that shape. With hybrid dye, there's many ways that you can do it. Like I say, the way I do it now, I sometimes do it different as well. With hybrid dye, there are many methods that you can use. I sometimes use a completely different method, which is the same way I would use a classic tint. So with a classic tint, you can be a bit messier. You can just throw it onto the brow and then clean it up afterwards. With hybrid dye, a lot of people don't like to do that as you don't want to stain the wrong area of the skin. However, I find that if you clean up quick enough afterwards, you're not going to stain the skin. So if you don't like precision tinting, but you want to work with hybrid dye, that is a way that you could do it. I place the dye with a brush or maybe a lip wand, a disposable, whatever is your preferred tool, onto the brow and then clean up around it. So I create the shape with the dye by cleaning up, if that makes sense. But here I am using my precision tint method, which is stamping the dye into the brow and making sure all of the hairs are covered. One of the perks with a hybrid dye is that you can create a custom shade, which I think is so good for clients. I think the number one thing with brows is everyone's scared of going too dark, or the colour just doesn't look right or can be quite heavy. So I find that a hybrid dye is perfect for the clients that like that lighter toned brown. You can really create that shade. So as you can see here, I am stamping the tint into that bottom line of the brow. We're going to create that really nice crisp edge, and it also helps when it comes to waxing. Front of the brow, I'm not placing any product directly at the front. As you can see here, I'm buffing that product through the brow to make sure all of the brow hairs are coated. If you want that ombre effect at the front of your brow when it comes to a hybrid, you want to make sure you're placing less product at the front and removing it first. cleaning up any hybrid dye that did go onto the skin. Don't panic if your lines aren't perfect straight away, you feel like it's ended up a bit messy, you can always go in and clean this up. Go in and remove the tint. I always remove it from the front of the brow first because that's where we need the least stain. That's going to give that really subtle ombre effect. I left this dye on Ellie for around 5 to 8 minutes, I'd say, altogether. With this tint you can leave it on for quite a while, but I would just say eyeball it, see how it's developing. If you need to go in with more layers, you can layer up this tint, so you can just go in with the same method. Once that first layer's dried out, go in again with another layer. However, one layer was perfectly fine for Ellie's brows, so I did then just go in and remove this. I am removing with a dry cotton pad, but I will go in afterwards and remove any excess tint with the solutions. So as you can see, I am now going ahead and waxing Ellie's brows. So because we created that really nice precision sharp line with the hybrid tint, it's kind of given us a line to use for waxing, so I didn't feel the need to go in and remap Ellie's brows for waxing. However, if that's what you want to do, it makes you more comfortable, by all means. When it comes to a hybrid brow, waxing, tinting, cleansing, whatever you want to do, as long as it is safe and your client is getting the result that you want, is absolutely fine. Everyone's got different methods, and this is just simply the way I do it. So as you can see here, I'm just going ahead and waxing the underneath of Ellie's brow. If you want to put a little bit of pressure onto the skin after you've waxed, it does kind of relieve that stingy feeling for your client, but it's not a necessity. So me and Ellie were chatting away way too much, because we always love a good chat and a catch up when we got together, that I actually forgot to go in with the skin shield, but Ellie would be a perfect client for this. Her skin can come up a little bit red and can be a little bit irritated by the wax, so skin shield is perfect just to create that barrier between the wax and the skin. Although you are using the skin shield, it will still grab the hairs. It just creates a little bit of a protective barrier for the skin. Waxing a client's skin can sometimes show up quite red and inflamed, but that is completely normal. You're causing trauma to the skin by ripping those hairs away from their follicle. So if your client gets tiny little bumps, redness, or the area feels a little bit hot after waxing, it's completely normal. You can advise them to take an antihistamine if needs be, but 9 times out of 10 that redness will go down quite quickly. Products that I find are perfect for after waxing is the Hydrogel by Buff Browz and Brow Calm. They soothe the skin so much, and it is nice to just cool down that skin for the client after they've been waxed. So this next part for me is the fun part. This is where you really see the brow come together. I am going in here with the Brow Calm from the new Buff Browz range. This product is so beautiful to use. It's a gorgeous creamy consistency, super cooling and hydrating for the skin after wax. It's also very good for getting rid of any of that sticky wax residue that does sometimes linger after you have done your brow wax. So I'm just buffing this into the skin and through the brow hairs. This does also help to remove any lingering tint. So this product is safe for the skin after waxing, and it's perfect to use just to cool down the client's brow area. You can see here how gorgeous and creamy that consistency is. It's very much like the step 3 consistency of the lamination products. So I left that on for a little bit, and now I'm just going to wipe that off, and we can finally see the brow that we've created. So for a bit of extra hydration with Ellie's brows, I did go in with the Restore mask from the Brow range. Tried to give you a little satisfying swirl, but I don't think it worked out very well. And then I am just going to buff that in again. Adding the hydration back into that area is perfect. We want to soothe the skin because it's just gone through a little bit of trauma with the waxing. This is also a really lovely way to just massage your client's brow area, massage the product into the skin as well. And now finishing touches and going in with the Buff Browz Bare Necessity palettes, the absolute OG palette that will never leave my kit. You will never find me do a set of brows without this product because I am truly obsessed. This is how I even started with Buff, was using this palette. So I went with the shade In the Buff for Ellie, and I'm just outlining the underneath of her brow. You don't want to do anything too harsh. For photos, sometimes I do like to do a thicker, more like prominent type of carving, just because I think on a photo it can look a lot better. However, for day to day and when your client is leaving straight after being in the salon, you do kind of want to make it look super natural, especially if your client isn't wearing any makeup. So I carve the underneath, and with a hybrid brow I do like to carve on top as well. This is just a personal preference. Again, there's no right or wrong way when it comes to what you do with the brow. I like this because I feel like it gives a little bit more definition to the brow. I just go ahead and buff that out with a lip wand, and you really see the finished product come together. My biggest advice with anything to do with brows or being in this business is do what you like to do. Use the tools that you enjoy, use the products that you enjoy, and as long as that treatment has been carried out safely and your client has left happy, then you have done it absolutely perfectly. Just because of the techniques I use today doesn't mean they're right compared to the ones that you may use. Find what works for you, even if it's the most bizarrest of things. So now to finish off the brows, I am going in with the Renew oil from the Buff Browz Divine collection. This oil is so beautiful. It's silky, glossy, and it is the perfect finish for the brows. So that there is my hybrid brow treatment. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you took something away from it. So that is my finished hybrid brow. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you took something away from it. Just a reminder, you do whatever works best for you, and enjoy creating gorgeous, fabulous brows.